Plegiad, sometimes called the coziest little town in Vardenfell. It is a scenic village at the crossroads of Lake Amaya. Peaceful farmlands and lush landscapes of flowers have attracted a busy housing market to this otherwise quaint and quiet little village in the Ascadian Isles. That tranquil exterior hides a bustling growth in real estate development, and for those prospective buyers looking to settle in Plegiad, there's any number of new housing options to choose from. The idyllic little cottage, a lakeside manor, a castle with a view, homes with gardens, homes with vast quantities of space. There's all sorts of abodes for those adventurers looking to settle down. And today, we're taking a look at just 5 of those player homes in a variety of styles, in and around Plegiad, as we try and find the best player home for your character. Once again, we're mostly just looking at newer, more recent player house mods today. And as always, you can find down links for each and every one just right down below. We'll begin with a sizable new abode located just north of Plegiad, upon the peninsula that juts out into Lake Amaya, the scenic and rather imposing Imperial Dragon Manor by Butch Amy. Many of the residents of Plegiad are, of course, former soldiers, who chose to retire in the idyllic countryside of the Ascadian Isles. And the former owner of Imperial Dragon Manor is no different. A disgraced retiree of the Imperial Legion, he stands credibly accused of smuggling. His misfortune could be your gain, as, after a short quest, you'll get an opportunity to buy this lovely manor for the sum of a mere 5,000 gold. An Imperial-style mansion, Imperial Dragon Manor has a decidedly unique appearance. An imposing abode of grey Imperial stone, it stands tall amongst the trees and mushrooms of the Ascadian Isles, with large bay windows that offer tons of natural daylight and pleasing views. There's even support for glow-in-the-dark, so on those nights when you're trekking home after dark, you'll be greeted with those just large, warmly lit windows. Inside, Imperial Dragon Manor comes fully furnished with a number of rooms, including a kitchen and pantry, a dining room, alchemy lab, a modest-sized library, a writer's nook and an enchanting lab, a display hall with weapon racks, a lounge, a master bedroom, and of course a modest-sized cellar for storage. The ground floor is composed of 2 wings. In the west wing, you'll find the kitchen, complete with counters for preparing food, a pantry where ingredients are stored, ready to be used in cooking, and a rather just tiny alchemy lab, complete with some minor storage for ingredients, a desk, and a bookcase. But otherwise, this alchemy lab notably lacks any sort of actual alchemical equipment, and you'll have to bring your own. Connected to the kitchen is the basement cellar, a modest-sized space with a handful of containers to use for storage. And, as a note, all the containers in Imperial Dragon Manor use default storage capacities, so they'll hold between 75 and 200 pounds of equipment each. Over in the east wing, you'll find an open-air dining room, complete with a table set for company, a roaring fireplace, and in the bay window, a modest display hall, with weapon racks and a suit of armor. There's even just some plaques that can be adorned with the heads of hunted beasts. Traveling upstairs, you'll be greeted with a richly furnished set of living chambers that mirrors the layout of the ground floor. In the east wing, you'll find the library, stacks of bookcases, largely empty and ready to be filled with volumes and volumes of literature, or else used as just, an extra set of display cases. Attached in the corner is the enchanting lab and writing nook, a cozy little space with a lectern and writing desk, and shelves for soul gems and enchanted items. In the west wing, the master bedroom and lounge await. With an open-air design, the lounge forward and center right in the midst of the bay windows, with a charming atmospheric red lighting and lots of cushioned seating. And the master bedroom just here towards the back, with a king-size bed, potted plants, and just a bit of life, and a walk-in closet for all your apparel. The Imperial Dragon Manor is a truly gorgeous and cozy abode. Though the commute might be just a bit much. It is well away from Plesiad proper, and comes with no teleport ring and no easy fast travel options. But at a modest price, it provides a lavish space for the more seasoned adventurer. Returning to Plesiad's busy main thoroughfare, we come to our second player home of the day, the tiny, almost inconsequential Plesiad Minuet Cottage by Dimnuisance, located just off Plesiad's main road. A tiny two-story abode, a Plesiad Minuet Cottage is a unique Imperial-style dwelling, coming complete with a tiny little garden, and two potential locations in Plesiad, depending on whether or not a prospective buyer has magical missions installed. As the previous owner has disappeared, this player home is up for sale, and can be purchased from the nearby trader for the small sum of between 1,200 and 1,300 gold. While small, this cottage does come with a number of rooms, including a bedroom, a combined dining room and kitchen, and a combined library and writer's nook. Of course, those are all technically only 2 rooms, each of which are just very, very small, but as we'll see, they're cozily furnished and decorated. The foyer enters straight into the kitchen, with a warmly lit hearth and a pot ready to prepare a stew or soup. Off to the side, a small table can be found, with seats for 2, and the kitchen goes straight into the master bedroom. A rather narrow affair, with a single bed across from the bay window, offering views of the garden outside. Across both the kitchen and bedroom, a number of shelves and cabinets provide ample storage space for any and all possessions that a newly arrived adventurer might have. Despite the small accommodations, this player home punches far above its size when it comes to storage. A perfect abode for fans of tiny homes. These cabinets and chests have your typical storage capacity, holding between 100 and 200 pounds each. A modest amount, but so many containers, you'll have plenty of room to organize your loot. Upstairs in the loft, you'll find the library and writer's nook. A very small space, truth be told, but one that comes with a writer's desk, cabinets that go around the entire room, and of course, some shelves capable of holding a modest collection of books, a few of which have already been provided. Utterly charming, Plesiad Minuet Cottage is an ideal starter home, with an optimized and efficient usage of space to make the organized adventure just that much more satisfying. It doesn't come with any form of fast travel, but, located near the center of town, it does have easy access to the shops, and provides a lovely base of operations in the Ascadian Isles. From tiny cottage to grand keep, we next turn our gaze to the foothills west of Plesiad, and the imposing fortress of Ghostmoth by Pika Bird. Not to be mistaken for Fort Ghostmoth, which, for those looking at the relative listings, is in the Shilgorad, and far from being an available property for sale, is actually an active bastion of the Imperial Navy. No. This Ghostmoth is an abandoned keep on the outskirts of Plesiad, built into the hills that divide the Ascadian Isles from the Bitter Coast. Once envisioned as a seat of Imperial power rivaling that of Ebonheart, Ghostmoth now sits as a largely empty fortress, but one with quite the scenic appearance. Rising above Plesiad, it provides a dominating skyline of towers and keeps, with rooftop balconies that provide splendid views that are just to die for. And indeed, it would appear that one of the previous owners did just that. A majestic vista of verticality, Ghostmoth offers unparalleled sweeping views of the Ascadian Isles. A view that not only takes in all of Plesiad, but Vivec in the distance, and even the distant towers of Balmora and the Dwemer ruins of Arkanthand. This view alone makes Ghostmoth a worthy prospect for any potential homeowner. But, as we'll see here in a minute, Ghostmoth is something of a fixer-upper. Going inside, Ghostmoth is a massive citadel with a number of rooms to match, including a grand banquet hall, a sizable and vertical entry hall, a massive display hall, an imperial chapel for the religiously devout, an entire library wing, a master bedroom, a cellar, a forge and smithy, a pantry, an alchemy lab, a barracks, a hidden jail to keep your foes, and just numerous other caverns and halls besides. The player home itself is divided into 3 buildings, the first of which is the entry hall, a large vertical interior space that's lightly furnished but atmospherically lit. As I've said though, this player home is a bit of a fixer-upper, as the various skeletal remains can attest to, and you may want to redecorate before having company. Let's put a bookcase just right here. There we go. That covers that up nicely. And maybe sweep this fellow under a rug. There we are. No one will know. No one will ever know. The entry hall opens out onto an exterior bridge that connects the rest of this player home together, including the next building, a guard barracks, with numerous bunk beds ready to house any number of servants or companions. Pillows not provided, of course. And yes, you may want to advise your guests not to sleep on the top bunks. The ceiling is somewhat unstable and prone to unfortunate incidents. But, going through to the next building, the bulk of this player home can be found in the central keep, which opens up, at first, upon a pair of largely empty halls. Somewhat lacking in furnishing, but, with room for you to add your own furniture, should you so desire. Through a short stairwell to the upstairs, you'll find the master bedroom, a plain and rather simple affair with a king-size bed, a writing desk, and a fire to keep you warm on those cold nights. It is a bit of a small bedroom, all things considered, but, it does have access to an outdoor balcony. And you'll also find a wee bit of a background story here, with a journal left by the previous owner. While the master bedroom is a modest affair, this next set of chambers is anything but modest. For we next move on to the banquet hall, a lavish and extravagant space worthy of a proper castle. With massive open-air space, incorporating lots of lovely verticality into the design, a pair of banquet tables provide seating for a number of guests, while a large roaring hearth provides a separate space for lounging with a drink in hand. Like much of the rest of this abode, the furnishings here are a bit sparse, with plenty of space to add your own, and there's few decorations, though you will find some lovely gardens just around a massive staircase that leads to the other chambers. And speaking of, connected to the banquet hall is the master library, a sizable set of shelving-lined halls capable of holding thousands of books, though currently they're a tad on the empty side. Tables provide spaces to study and research, and while this could be used as a library, it could also double as a secondary display hall, if one should so desire. But yes, there is already, of course, a primary display hall, a rather extended space that includes a number of side vaults, and little alcoves where you can store just various knickknacks, as well as a more open display room with numerous tables ready to be cluttered with all sorts of treasures. Included are a number of chests, each with a typical storage capacity. And just here to the side, you'll find a small imperial chapel, for those who are more religiously devout. While the main hall includes all the main public-facing rooms, there is also just a rather sizable cellar, with plenty of storage, kegs for various brews, a pantry, and again a fair bit of space that can be used to add your own furnishings. Also, found in the cellar is a drinking well for drawing water, a handy feature for Ashfall users, and a smithy where one can work on their on their various little projects. The cellar is also home to a small alchemy lab with a handful of tables and shelves, but notably no actual alchemical equipment. Like with Imperial Dragon Manor, you'll have to bring your own. There are, however, ingredient jars for you to use just to store and organize all your alchemical ingredients. Finally, in addition to the cellar, there's also an extensive network of underground cabins, including a jail where you can lock up your foes, and even travel options to take you to the Shulgrad and Westgash regions. Though, otherwise, this mod has no actual fast travel options. Again, this is a free player home, but it notably doesn't come with any loot, and it is just a bit of a fixer-upper. If you're using a furniture mod, you'll doubtless spend thousands of gold redecorating it to suit your needs. But that might well be a plus for those looking to make their own mod, and the amount of space here is simply unparalleled in Plesiad's housing market. Returning to the center of this humble village, we come to the dwelling of Morrowind's original player home, the home of that famed Khajiit, an Aussie, and the housing mods of carefully cluttered Cozy Cat Cottage by Judaeus and Nuisance, and an Aussie Naturalized by Calendar. In Vanilla Morrowind, you'll be invited to live here, should you befriend your very special pal, an Aussie. And this pair of mods both overhauls and expands this dwelling with new creature comforts and amenities. Sitting behind the smithy, along the outer wall of Fort Plesiad, an Aussie's cottage is a charming abode, with a little garden out front and numerous windows to provide lovely rays of natural daylight. To gain access to this abode, you must first befriend an Aussie, which involves completing your quests and gaining a key. Originally limited to only male characters, an Aussie Naturalize opens this questline and gift of friendship to characters of all genders, with appropriately edited gender-neutral dialogue, and it also makes the questline just a bit easier for lower-level characters. Once you gain access, though, you'll find a beautiful, lavish, and atmospheric abode that includes a dining room, a kitchen, a tiny little display hall, a master bedroom, and a guest bedroom. The foyer opens up upon the dining room and kitchen, an elegant entry chamber that includes a dining table already set for a meal, a gorgeous bay window with potted plants, a little breakfast nook for when it's just the two of you, and of course the kitchen towards the back, with a fireplace and wood ready to be stoked into a fire, a set of shelves to the side for any cooking instruments, and a window looking out onto the backyard. These entry rooms have some just finely crafted little details, like a new painting hanging above the entry dresser, and a window with the carved images of the moons. For like all Khajiit, an Aussie feels a special connection to Massa and Secunda. Off to the side of the dining room is a little display hall, with shelves and storage bathed in beautiful natural daylight from multiple windows, including a little comfy alcove by the bay window that one could just lay in and play a harp if they so desired. Downstairs you'll find the private living quarters, including a guest bedroom just off the stairwell, a cozy little space with a bed, a private breakfast table, a variety of shelves, weapon racks, and drawers just built right into the wall, and a chest where one could store their goods. Across the hall is the master bedroom, with a king-size bed, a closet, chests, and plenty of storage. Depending on how you want to interpret or roleplay your relationship with an Aussie, you could be the friend living in the guest quarters, or perhaps something more, sharing the master bedroom. With this pair of mons, the relationship potential is yours to decide. Either way, this home comes with ample storage, with plenty of empty containers set to default capacity of around 100 to 200 pounds each. While there is no direct fast travel, this home is conveniently close to the Divine Intervention marker for Plesiad, so, it can be accessed easily. Technically, this is a free player home, but, you do need to finish a quest line in order to get it, so there is a bit of legwork involved. And all in all, it is a lovely villa, especially for fans of Khajiit. Finally, returning to the peninsula north of Plesiad, our final player home is the lovely estate of the House at Lake Amaya by Anna of High Rock. A scenic two-story abode perched with a majestic view of both the calming waters of Lake Amaya and the far-off skyline of Plesiad. House at Lake Amaya is a picturesque, serene dwelling that comes with outdoor dining, gardens, and an upstairs balcony to take in that gorgeous horizon. While in close proximity to another one of the fine properties that we've already seen today, House at Lake Amaya manages to fit in perfectly alongside the nearby Imperial Dragon Manor. Unlike Imperial Dragon Manor, this is a free player home, with the key just tucked away by the front door. And going inside, on the ground floor, you'll find a dining room, an entry hall that doubles as the kitchen, a library with access to a master bedroom on the upper floor, and a basement that includes an alchemy lab, storage hall, and an armory. The front door opens up right into the kitchen and dining room, with a roaring fireplace and a set of cabinets to help prepare meals and organize dishware, with a bay window providing some natural daylight. There's also a few planters, with a variety of flora to help liven up this cozy atmospheric environment. This entry-level kitchen and dining room connects directly to the library and study, a warmly lit space that includes a handful of bookcases, already stacked and lined with volumes of literature and text, a roaring fireplace to relax by, a writing desk in the corner for composing letters and correspondence, and two lovely bay windows with a little nook for you to get comfortable with a good book. Upstairs, you'll find the master bedroom, a simple loft bathed in atmospheric blue lighting, including a master bed, a balcony window overlooking Lake Amaya, access to the outdoor balcony, and of course a modest closet for your wardrobe. But going back downstairs and heading to the basement, here you'll find a storage hall, with large closets ready to hold untold heaps of loot, chests, barrels, and sacks of all sorts to organize and divide your collections. And indeed, some of these containers come with a remarkably high storage capacity. Some of these containers do have a more standard weight limit, but others have nigh near infinite storage capacity. Connected to the storage room by a short hallway towards the back of the basement, we find the alchemy lab and armory, a large open-air space with multiple alchemical stations, alchemical equipment at the ready, and a mixed armory and storage hall, with a shelf full of armor and weapons, a repair station, a fireplace, and tons of crates, barrels, and chests. And while there's an awful lot of equipment here, it is worth noting that nearly all of it is broken. It's meant to be more of a training station for repairing items, rather than just free loot. Likewise, the alchemical equipment is simply apprentice-level gear, so, this property doesn't come with anything really overpowering. Though it does have a fast travel ring, capable of teleporting you back home just whenever you please, or to Caldera, Ghost Gate, or the Urshulaku camp. Though, curiously, not to Plesiad, even though that is by far the closest town. Regardless though, House at Lincolnmaya is an atmospheric mid-sized abode, ideal for both veteran and starting players. But that's our last player home for today. Plesiad is a growing market, and there are certainly just quite a few lovely player homes that we haven't covered here. But who knows, perhaps you found a property that meets your needs. If not, do tune in next time for when we take a look at the nearby housing market of Sedanin. Until then, as always, links are just right down below. And real quick, I would just like to take a moment to thank our patrons, including Ascetic JMac, Alexos, Area 5/SymbolMe, Billy Fighter, Cotta Canterbury, Kiwi, Cyprinius, Danae, Daliant, Danina, Dennis418, Exavian, Yame Alcazo Castornau, Julian, Corridor, Bangastir, Lord Brenny, Macbone, Melchior Dog, Murlord, Michael, Mr. the Joshman, Null Cascade, Old Navy Twidget, Upper Jack, Porcuse, Pogolo, Raven Talon, Arfuso, Risily, Sand Gentleman, Shadowbash Wine, Shooter, Circuit Cat, Stiff Kitten, Talvani with 1,000 nicknames, Tezrel, Two-Time Trauma Root, Tara Rain, Boot Tot, and Xero Fox. If you'd like to join them, check out our rewards, including early access, behind-the-scenes content, and access to polls to decide what kind of content we showcase, visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/MarlonModding. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe, stay healthy, happy modding, and I'll see you all next time.